Okay, everybody, we are back once again, and what what if with Superhuman ASL? What if Ussop and Luffy learned the six powers at before they left Fusa Village? I mean Fusa Island. And if you want to check out part 5, this is part 6. I will link the playlist in the upper right hand corner above and in the description below, if you along with what music I used while making it. So without further ado, let's continue. So from this point on, so basically we're just gonna start off with the easiest one, of course. Of course, they do go. Of course, we're going to start off with a village arc where they go to meet Usopp. And before we go into that one, I would like to mention the one where they do indeed stop by that one island with that guy stuck in the. I know which one it is. It's that one island where that guy was stuck in like the treasure chest. I'm trying to remember his name. I'll remember. His name was anyway. Anyway, he was stuck in the treasure chest. Luffy, that goes the exact same with Luffy helping him to find out that the treasure chests were always empty. And there wasn't anything in there for him. Oh, his name was Gaimon. Gaimon realizes he comes to the same realization. Luffy helps him in the same way. Nothing really changes there. Yeah. I also would like to mention that Buggy also still ends up on that island because Luffy still locked him away, and him and Gaimon still have that unique relationship. That was honestly really beautiful. I'm glad they added that in the anime. And then they go to Short Village, of course, and they land. And just like usual, Usopp threatens them with his slingshot and with his army of 1,000 men, or I think he said hundreds or probably thousands. And he challenges them. And Luffy just looks at him and says the exact same line Shanks told him. Now that you pulled out your weapon, are you ready to use it? Because weapons aren't for threats, they're for actions. And then him and Zoro just kind of step up, and Usopp immediately backs down. And then his friends Tanamiji, Nimji, and Paimon also back down as well. And then we have the same thing happening with Usopp and Luffy getting together, finding out that Usopp's dad was Yasopp. Luffy finds that out, and the two of them talk about Shanks' crew and realize they're both trying to go for the same thing, except Luffy wants to be king of the pirates, obviously, and Usopp mostly just wants to be a brave warrior of the sea. So they go on with that, and then the stuff with Kaya happens similarly too, except in this timeline, Luffy is actually more cautious of Kuro than he was in the original. Because he actually because again he has more common sense, and his danger sense works better. He's not sure why though. He did remember Sabo telling him something about hockey, giving him like a rudimentary lesson. He said there were 3 types, but he doesn't know if Luffy had one of them. So instead, he just told Luffy about, of course, the regular types of all meant hockey and observation. So Luffy was aware of so Luffy thought this could be observation, but he hadn't really practiced that. He'd been more focused on almond. Needless to say, though, his instincts were still sharpened by that. So he made a mental note to follow Kuro around and take what Usopp said more seriously. So him and Usopp actually end up spying on Kuro. And when Django does try to hypnotize him, Luffy kind of just knocks him aside so Luffy doesn't get put to sleep or dropped off a cliff. Usopp meaning Usopp and Luffy actually meet him straight on. Meet Cool straight on this time. And instead of him just being there, Usopp, and instead of all that, and Luffy kind of just lets Usopp do his own thing, trying to like save Kaya, on his own, seeing how he performs. He manages to do well until Luffy, but he does end up with the same result, and he chases after Kuro. Well, and when and Luffy follows him, Zoro and Nami still up in that like slick trap, and then Luffy and Zoro both arrive. Then Luffy arrives ahead of Zoro actually, and then as Usopp's about to get trampled by the entire pirate crew and watch his village be destroyed, Luffy just straight up demolishes everyone before Zoro can arrive. And when Kuro tries to do that little thing he's doing, like that little, I don't know what it was called, that discount shave technique, it completely fails, and Luffy's almost secondhand embarrassed by it. He's like, dude, you can't even see where you're going, can you? Then he just puts his hand on Kuro's shoulder and he's like, well, this has been an embarrassment. For you, at least. And then he just knocks him out with absolute ease. Luffy, once again, is kind of disappointed. This was no challenge to him at all. He just sighs and kind of like ties all of them up and takes the treasure. And then Nami and Zoro arrive and they're like, wait. Zoro's like, hey, you didn't leave any for me. And Luffy's like, try to get here faster next time. Also, don't worry, you really didn't miss much. These guys were like super weak. So after that, everything pretty much happened the same, except Kaya and Usopp's crew were never in any real danger. And Kuro never ends up attacking his own pirates. It's also Usopp again decides not to tell them. Tells all of them to keep it a secret. Kaya agrees, and his crew agree as well. Well, Kaya also realizes that he wants to be a doctor, like in the original. Usopp thanks them, and he sets out to be a pilot on his own, but Luffy tells him, hey dude, just get on the ship already. And Usopp just is as excited as he was in canon. And they still get to go and marry as a thank you for Kaya, and they go to the Grand Line. And so, a bit of differences, but really not that many. Then we get to the Barista arc, which has a number of differences, actually. First of all, when they meet Full Buster, or whatever that Marine captain's name is, that tries to, like, attack them, instead of Luffy managing to somehow put... Okay, so they meet Johnny and Yasuka, like, in canon, except Luffy just deals with them by using the paperweight technique, where he just kind of cautiously lets his body go limp and lets it move away from the attacks instinctively. And Johnny and Yasuka see Zoro, and then they have a reunion with him. But then Luffy actually now consciously knows that he needs a cook, because as I said, he's slightly smarter in this scenario, so he would of course say he's also really hungry, and he's like, okay, we need a cook bad. So, and Johnny and Yasuka also tell them, well, there's a floating ship restaurant called the Barista. We could go over there. Nami navigates them there. They meet Full Body, and Luffy due to having more control of his abilities now, actually manages to direct the cannonball away from Barista and right back into Full Body's ship, sinking the ship, so meaning that Full Body never really gets in contact with Sanji, and they don't have that little thing. thing. So we just skip on to Jin threatening to kill everybody. Someone on the barista for food. He gets his ass beat. Sanji goes out, gives him his food, and because Sanji knows what it's like to be starving, and Jin eats it because of Sanji's kindness. Then we got Don Creed coming, and because Luffy's not a chore boy in this, working off a debt, Zeph and the rest of the crew just treat them like regular customers, and they're all given food, and all of them are giving food and eating. Sanji's being a gentleman to Nami, not a simp like what they made, not a simping pervert like they almost made him in like the newer anime, because they kind of made him too much of a pervert. I mean, he wasn't as lecherous as they made him in the original. He was more gentleman-like, you know. No, they just did Sanji a bit dirty there. But hey, he got his own arc, so that was pretty cool. So anyway, then from that point on, they are eating. Don Krieg busts in there, demanding food like he does in the original. No, Luffy's about to kick his ass because he interrupted his meal, but then Zeph just pushes him aside and offers Don Krieg a meal for his starving crew on the verge of death. Don Krieg, Luffy just looks at Zeph and he's like, hey, you know he's gonna come back and probably take over this place anyway, right? And Zeph's just like, well, I guess we'll just have, I'll deal with that when we deal with it. No one deserves to go be starving. That's what a chef's job is, to feed those that are hungry. Right, Sanji? Sanji just kind of takes a puff on his cigarette and looks away. While agreeing with him, but just being like that typical anime father-son relationship, adopted, mind you. Don Krieg does indeed come back. And now Don Krieg does immediately come back, and he raises the battle fins, and he does start attacking in the place. Sanji, he of course tells Pooh to go after Sanji, as in the original. Wait, hold up. He of course does tell Pooh to go after Sanji, like in the original. But of course Jin takes care of the dude real quick, saying he's in his way. So now it's just Jin versus Sanji. And that fight kind of goes as it does in canon. But then we also have Mihawk, so the mad lad Mihawk. So, wait, that doesn't work. No, it doesn't work with Mihawk. Let me see. We also have the Sigma Chad Mihawk. Yeah, that works. Mihawk showing up. That he had Mihawk showing up. And also want to say that Nami doesn't double cross them in this scenario, because not only are they way stronger, but also the fact that there's the thing that Luffy kind of just keeps peeping over at the ship, meaning he would notice that if it's gone, because Luffy's actually more aware of his surroundings here as well, so they would know if the Going Merry is gone. That, and also they gone. Also gone is gone. Also because he's kind of still eating inside, I think. Wait, would CB still eating inside doing something like this? And she thinks they can help her out against Arlong. She's still debating whether to tell them, because he knows this could be her only chance. But at the same time, she also doesn't want them getting hurt. But they're really strong, so she's contemplating that instead of like taking the ship away, so they don't deal with that. Also, then Zuho still goes up against Mihawk. We still have his big epic moment, and he still gets beaten as badly as he does in canon, and Sanji is telling him to live. Instead, Luffy this time around, actually looks at him, and then from that point, So I mean, in the so Pearl. Wait. Oh yeah, that's how the fight went. Sanji was still injured in his fight with Pearl. Jin gained upper hand, but Jin didn't want to kill Sanji, so this infuriated him. He tried to kill him with poison gas. Yes, but of course, Luffy acts when. Well, here's the thing: when Mihawk almost killed Zoro, Luffy still was a bit enraged. Was actually a bit more enraged than he was in canon because he takes his job as captain way more seriously than he did beforehand. So in this scenario, he actually activates gear because he feels more responsible here. So he activates gear second the instant this happens, and he rushes straight towards Mihawk. And by the time he gets up, and Mihawk actually needs to use his sword to block the attack right as it hits his blade. Because I mean, Mihawk would still be capable of blocking the attack, but the fact that he needed to actually put in even the slightest bit of effort to do so actually raises his eyebrow at Luffy. And before the fight can go on any further, and Luffy actually knocks him back a bit. Before the fight can go on any further, Mihawk just tells Luffy that his friend's alive. Luffy calms down immediately and Mihawk asks him what the dreams are. Ussop with Luffy saying that his dream is to become the pirates. And this time around, Mihawk just kind of smiles without saying anything. Because if he has that much power at such a young age, then he should be pretty well on his way to being like the king. Like that's something he should be pretty much on his way to doing. And then from that moment onwards, everything pretty much goes the same except when he's about to unleash that toxic gas into the air to try to, when Don Queed's about to release that toxic gas to kill Jin, Luffy actually is managing to stop that, and he throws it back at Don Queeg. But of course, everyone else really has the mask on before he can act. But of course they have the mask on, but that means that Jin doesn't get poisoned. So no one really gets poisoned by it. Good. Then Queeg tries to use his armor arsenal to finish off Luffy, but before he can do anything, Luffy just literally appears before him, puts its fist out, and punches straight through his armor and knocks all of the air out of him, along with almost breaking straight through his body. Don Queeg then gets knocked out with really one hit, but his determination and insanity shine through as he just grabs Luffy and tries to rush him into the water. Luffy, however, just kind of sticks his feet in the ground, lets him stretch back, and then when he's done, he just stretches forward again and launches Don Queeg into the far away, straight over the horizon. At this point, Luffy has just... So basically, what everyone is saying is that Luffy has just quite easily... He managed to land a hit on Mihawk, for one. Or at least he made Mihawk have to block an attack from him. He managed to actually almost land a hit on Mihawk is the thing, though, and Mihawk had to block. He even beat Don Queeg with relative ease. With absolute ease, actually. Everyone saw these events happen. So everyone's very much impressed by him. Even Sanji is actually more impressed in the original, and Nami is like, you know what? Nami makes her decision. These guys can help her, and they will. Because Luffy just helped these people without asking for anything in return besides for more food. Food, of course, but that's pretty much a given. Then they all at a restaurant, and there's nothing they would have to go out of their way to get. So we have that. So we still have that sweet farewell from Sanji as he leaves with Luffy, and they both talk about the all blue and the One Piece and their dreams and stuff, and they all of them leave together on the Going Merry because Nami never took it in this timeline. So Luffy has a new crew, and they all set off. And Nami, while they're all leaving, Nami actually takes the time to tell them about their. And while they're all leaving, Nami actually takes the time to tell them about their. And while they're leaving, Nami actually takes the time to tell them about All Along Park, and she says, "Guys, there's something I need to tell all of you." So she just sits down with them, and they're like, of course, Sanji's like, "What's wrong, Nami-san?" And Lul just cooks his eyebrow. She basically tells them that she was actually thinking about taking the ship a while ago. Zoro's obviously pissed. Sanji's telling Zoro to hear her out, having faith in Nami. And Ussop and Luffy are just kind of, and Ussop just like, huh? And Luffy's just kind of like, makes sense. I mean, you only joined us out of convenience, so what happened? So why? Really? Why? Luffy just being nonchalant about it as always. He's like, you tried to take the ship. Why is that? Nami then just goes on to tell them about her past with Oolong, how he basically enslaved her, how he took her from her home, killed Bellamy, and all that. Luffy is, just as in ways as he was actually more angry than he was in canon, due to this, because like I said, he has a better sense of responsibility in this timeline. So due to this superior sense of responsibility, he would be more inclined to help Nami out. So when they do arrive in All Along Park, they just go. Luffy legitimately just leads them straight to All Along Park. They begin to just, and he kind of just rushes to the park on his own, almost leaving Sanji and Zoro behind. However, Zoro just tells him this time to actually let them fight for once, because at this moment, Zoro hasn't really gotten the chance to fight anyone, really, like, at all. Luffy's pretty much been handling all of the battles at this moment in time. Luffy's been pretty much managing all the battles at this moment in time due to being stronger, faster, and tougher than, well, really anyone in the East Blue. So they get there. Nami's village still is watching Nami leading these people to All Along Park, and they're going behind her. They all know about what really happened, but they're acting like they don't because they don't want Nami to feel bad. But this time, Nami's ready to face this challenge, so she, of course, is leading the Straw Hat crew. Luffy marches right up to All Along, gives him the same speeds, but this time when he punches him, he absolutely puts everything he has into it. So we don't really have that big climactic finish. He punches All Along up into the air. All Along gets launched straight into the air. Luffy then appears from above, faster than anyone can keep track of. Even Zoro and Sanji lost track of him when he did this. And then he just effortlessly, with complete ease and absolute malice, performs the same move he did in the canon, destroying All Along's building and all of Nami's past. He then brings her he then goes to take, and he then gives that big speech telling Nami. And then gives a big speech to Nami saying, Nami, you're my friend. Come join the Straw Hats. And Nami's crying saying yes. And the All Along Park is pretty much ended just like that. That he then lets his crew, but he then also just lets his crew fight. He does the of course the second in command and third in command try to Hatsiak and like that Hatsiak. Of course, All Long's crew still try to avenge their captain, but Zoro and Sanji pretty much take care of them like they did in canon. It's even more than canon. Kawobi's still beaten by Sanji. Easier in this timeline actually because Sanji doesn't need to worry about Luke trying to save Luffy because he never got himself stuck. Because All Along didn't have any time to call a sea monster. The Zoro still absolutely hacks up Hatchan, and Ussop actually does fight. And then Ussop also fights what was his name? Chew. And then Ussop also fights Chew and ends up defeating him similarly to in canon. Luffy's actually very proud of his crew this time around as well because they actually managed to, because he gave them those fights. So then Nami pickpockets everyone as he leaves as usual. So just to for goodbye with her sister, and the All Along Park is now free. I mean, Nami's village is now free and is no longer called All Along Park, is what I meant. And Nami now officially joins the Straw Hat Pirates. And the rest of that arc kind of stays the same. And at this point Luffy doesn't have a bounty of 30 million buried this time around, though. This time, Luffy actually has a bounty of let's see, what would be a good one? Because of how easily he did all of these feats with ease, and how people are talking about him just one-shotting Don Krieg and sending him flying. Luffy would honestly have a bounty of about, I'm gonna say, 69 million berry. 69 million berry. Possibly 70 million because he's stronger now than he was in the original. Meaning he's worth a lot more, almost really double the amount that he was previously. I think 70 million berries fits this more because this is a way stronger Luffy, so he would be that much bigger of a threat. And then after All Along Park, we would get the Log Town arc. And when we do get the Log Town arc, this is actually kind of interesting. They go to Log Town. Luffy, of course, wants to go there because this is where Gold D. Roger was born and executed, and he wants to pay his respects, but also a challenge for his title of King of the Pirates. However, Smoker is also still there as well. Well, Ussop still makes Luffy shows off his bounty, and everyone is just amazed because it's one of the higher bounties they've seen. Everyone's overjoyed. Nami tells him he was stressed. Luffy just waves off her concern. He's like, stressed how? I haven't met a single challenge since I started in the East Blue. If anything, I'll have to wait until the Grand Line till I meet somebody actually worth worrying about. And at this actually kind of calms her down because Luffy is stronger Luffy is just not even bragging. He's kind of being truthful. He hasn't been challenged at all. So he hasn't really seen him struggle. Because, like, in the original, he saw him almost faint against Kuru. But in this one, he was done fighting before any of them even showed up. So, in this scenario, he's actually really... So in this scenario, this actually does calm her down, and he doesn't worry as much, really, due to Luffy's incredible strength. And they decided to stop at a log town to grab supplies, too. Meanwhile, Luffy's new bounty reaches his home island, and of course, they are way happier than the original and party harder, because he's worth 70 million berry on his first bounty. Dracula Mihawk actually goes to Shanks and tells him about the bounty, and they party harder because Luffy. He even says that Luffy actually felt Luffy's attack. He comments he could have easily beaten the boy, but he still says that he's going to go a long way. He was much stronger than Zoro, who he fought previously. Okay, so when okay. He was much stronger than Zoro was previously. And then from that point onwards, okay. And then they get to Log Town. While in there, Zoro still does the same thing where he meets Tasigi, and he does this cool thing where he lets the sword choose him as its owner. And then the shop's owner just gives him a new sword, and Zoro gets 3 swords again. Because they were broken against, because Mihawk broke them last time. Sanji still gets a gigantic fist. Usopp puts in some supplies and ammo. Nami gets new clothes, and Luffy's just checking out the execution stand where Goldie Roger was executed. He's like, you were the so this is where the king of the pirates was executed. Wonder if history will repeat itself when I become king of the pirates. He then ponders his future for a bit until a woman calls out for him from behind, and he doesn't know who she is. And unlike in the original, he can recognize who she is. He thinks it's impossible, but this is Alvida. He distinctly has a remembrance. He vaguely knows this is Alvida for a bit, and he's like, "Oh, you slimmed down a lot, Alvida. Oh, what does getting your ass kicked actually make you slimmer?" She looks at him, and she's almost annoyed. But she reveals that Buggy's here too. And Ussop is Luffy's ambushed once again, but he effortlessly just kind of deflects it, and then he just goes on to beat Buggy down again, and he just kind of walks off like nothing really happened, as Alvida is just standing there like, okay then, and he goes to wake up Buggy and the rest of his crew. At the big the captain still report that there were pirates going into town. They go to Smoker, who has kept chasing and never letting pirates leave his town uncaptured. He goes to wait for him, and he doesn't wait for Luffy to be captured though. So all the Straw Hats are pretty much together. Nami still detects the storm coming. So none of them really go to the execution stand because Luffy's not there. Buggy, Vita's still waking up Buggy. Smoker pretty much defeats and captures them, of course. Nami and Usopp are sent to go get the Going Merry and quickly take down Moji and I and Witty before they can burn down the ship. Luffy is told the other Straw Hats won as Tasiki, his Zoro tricked her. So those events still play like they would. And then Smoker confronts Luffy and Sanji. Now, I've already shown that Sabo did teach Luffy a bit about hockey before he left, but it's not really as good as what Whaley did. Of course, Luffy would go more towards almond hockey than he would observation, but as I've said, he still has a natural aptitude for the three of them, for both of them. Sabo did teach him the basics of hockey, so Luffy would be capable of using some degree of almond hockey, meaning he would be but it's not as good as it was. It's nowhere near as good as after the time skip. So when Luffy and Sanji are fighting Smoker, Sanji can't do anything, but Luffy gets lucky and his first hit has hockey coated on it, and he managed to land one square in Smoker's face. And because he knows that he's limited in terms of almond hockey, he doesn't hold back in his attack. He goes into he immediately for a split. He uses all of his force in this one punch, and manages to knock Smoker through a building away from him and Sanji. And the two of them escape. However, so meaning Smoker's out of commission and Tasiki has to go help him out. And then a mysterious figure watches them from. Luffy doesn't even notice a hooded figure watching over them as they're leaving. He looks over at it, and for some reason, he just nods at him and moves. Dragon looks at his son. Dragon looks at as his son leaves, and he's like, Sabo is right. He is strong. And then he just smiles as he leaves and goes about his business. Then they go, and this is where the journey continues, and they go into the Grand Line. And they all make their pledges once and for all as they enter the Grand Line with the ceremony where they put their foot on the bales. And this time around, Sanji and Zoro actually do approach Luffy to ask him a couple questions. And Luffy's like, what's up, guys? Zoro just says that he heard from Johnny and Yasuku before they left that Luffy actually managed to land a hit on Mihawk. Luffy said, yeah, about that. I kind of thought you died, so I tried to, punch his lights out, No, Sanji actually confirmed this, saying it was otherworldly. He never seen anyone move that fast. He didn't even see Luffy move. He just saw Luffy in one place, and then his body was red and had smoke all over it, and then it was in another place. And Luffy says, "Oh, that's just my gear second. It kind of makes me more powerful, faster. It's kind of like an up. It kind of like stacks on top of my power and speed. Learned it when I was a kid. Comes in pretty handy, So Luffy just shrugs it off, and Suo and Sanji are like, and then what about that black? And Sanji's like, okay, what about that black stuff you covered your fist with when you stopped smoking? Oh, that's almond hockey. And if you guys want to learn that, you kind of need to ask my brothers. They would know more about it than I would. And then Sanji and Zoro are like, wait, you have brothers? What if Sanji has flashback to his brothers before he wipes it away? And he's like, wait, you have brothers? And Luffy's like, yeah, two. Ace and Sabo. So, don't you? Both of them, you guys think I'm strong. You should see them. They, even after I managed to actually win fights against them, they still beat me more often than that. Yes, I'm good than to train harder, And Luffy's like laughing at himself as the entire crew is just like looking at him like, what type of monster are you? What type of monster trio are you, Ussop yells at him as he's like, what type of monsters are all three of you? And Luffy's just like, ASL monsters, I guess. I guess. And then he's like, okay. Then he gets serious for a bit, and he's like, okay, look, guys, I need to be very clear. There's probably not going to be a lot of challenges for me and in the Grand Line. As for all of you, though, that's a different story. I would defend all of you in my life, and you know that you're all my precious Nakama. However, something needs to change. To change. I'm proud of all of you for sticking it out with me. All of you have shown your strength and guile and courage. And also, Sanji, your food is amazing. See, Nami wouldn't made it this far without you, and Zoro, you're just like an inspiration. And Usopp's like, hey, what about me? And Usopp, you're a great liar. Liar. And Usopp's like, and he does that thing where he puts his hand under his nose. He's like, well, at least my true talents my talent's shining through. Luffy just smirks and laughs it off. And he's like, look, I can teach you guys. Listen, look. He pulls out his din move for a bit, and he's like, if you guys want to talk to one of my brothers, you might be able to. He would know more about hockey than I would. So if you want to learn all mint, you can talk to him. Probably observation. I'm more in with all of them, but my observation, both of mine are a bit too finicky at the moment. You saw me do what I did against Smoker because I wasn't sure I'd be able to activate it again on the first try, on another try like that. Really, we both just got very lucky. We lucky there. Yeah, he looks at Sanji, and Sanji's just kind of speechless. He's like, he got lucky there. There. This time, the crew actually has a newfound respect for Luffy. He is much stronger than everyone else there, and he's basically telling them, look, all of you need to get way stronger, and I'm willing to help. Zoro and Sanji especially. So they both look at Luffy and are like, okay, Captain, what do we need to do? Luffy looks at them straight up and he's like, well, I guess for now, I guess I could teach you some of the techniques I know. Sanji, you should go. And considering the one I have, I think I'll teach both of you shave first, since that's the easiest one. And the one that I've pretty much mastered. So both of them were looking at him strange. He's like, shave? Oh, yeah. There's also these things called the Wokoshiki techniques, the 6 powers. And then to demonstrate, he just literally disappears from sight and reappears behind all of them with some food from the kitchen that Sanji scolds him for. He didn't scold him for, but the thing is, they didn't even hear the door open, and yet he's just standing there. He literally left that position, opened the door, got food out of the refrigerator, and then ate it, and then came back in front of them, all in the span of like 2 seconds. At this point, Sanji and Zoro are like, yes, please teach us this. And so Luffy does begin to teach them the shave technique. And considering it is the most basic technique to know, I think he would probably teach this to he could probably teach this to Usopp as well. Basically, he basically teaches, and he does, however, ask if Usopp and Nami want to learn it as well. Nami's not physically capable of doing it right now, but I do think Usopp would be, considering considering the dude's legs are kind of diesel from running so much. He's still really skinny, but I do think that with a bit of training, he'll be more than capable of going at those speeds. Usopp takes a lot longer than Zoro and Sanji to learn it. So on the way to Reverse Mountain, they all learning those Straw Hats. And he does work with Nami and Usopp to learn the save technique too, saying they at least need to be able to do this if they're gonna survive in the Grand Line. So the entire Straw Hat crew ends up learning shave as the first 6 power technique. Luffy even says that if they end up meeting Ace or Sabo later on, he might be able to teach them more. That they will be able to teach them the other 6 powers. Because he even mentions what they are. He mentions the Iron Body, he mentions the Skywalk, which Sanji takes great interest in wanting to learn it for himself. He mentions the paper technique where he can basically dodge unconsciously, which is what Usopp takes interest in as well. So he takes extra time to teach Usopp this. He even tells him about the finger pistol, which none of them really take interest in since it's not any of their styles. Sanji does think maybe he can maybe he can modify that to work with his legs instead to make them more powerful. Then he teaches them about the Ryokyu, or the Blade 6th power, 5th power. Sanji and Zoro both taking interest in this. Zoro trying to do it with his swords, and Sanji doing it with his legs. Luffy has not mastered these techniques, so he can't really show them because he never took the time to learn anything but the Kami style, and the one with the paper movement and the shave technique. So he can only teach them ones he has mastered himself, but he showed them ones he's mastered himself. But he has seen Zoro and Sabo and Ace do it enough times throughout the years to be able to explain how they work. Because there's one thing Luffy knows, it's combat. He's a genius at combat and at recognizing certain patterns in it, even finding weaknesses and flaws and explaining them to his crew as they're going over this mountain. And while he's doing that, they don't master the technique. He makes sure all of them master shave first. That's first and foremost. He makes sure all of them understand shave. Zoro and Sanji have already become very adept with shave already, and Zoro, and then we have Usopp and Nami, who can do it, but it tires them out after too many tries. But the fact that they can do it at all already gives Luffy peace of mind, because this will get them out of tight spots. So he decides to pause the training for the day. But of course, we all know Zoro. He never stops training. So while Sanji takes the time to pause the training until he can cook, and Nami just goes to Usopp to talk about a secret project they want to do. Talk about a secret project so they could keep up with the others earlier in time. So she actually gets the climb attack way earlier than in the Alabasta arc, because her and Usopp see just how far behind they are compared to Luffy. And Zoro is just trying to practice making his blade attacks go flying. And he's actually practicing for this too. And he already trying to mix it with shave. So he gets notably stronger due to having a stronger determination, even a better determination than becoming a stronger swordsman. Now he just wants to be someone that can stand next to Luffy as an equal, so he can help. Because if he can't do that, then what right does he have to become the world's strongest swordsman if he can't even be a reliable crew member? They get to a first mountain, and we see they see something huge is blocking the way. They see that it's Laboon. They get told about the calm belt, the Sea Kings infesting the water. There's something that happened. Then with the reverse mountain current, Luffy's shields are going merry from hitting the mountain as in canon. Then when they immediately run into Laboon, the sweet whale Laboon. Laboon opens his mouth, but this time Laboon opens his mouth, try to slow to going merry, but this time Luffy manages to stop the ship from going inside of Laboon due to Laboon, unlike in canon, and canon. Then so they meet Corcus only after he gets out of Laboon. Laboon keeps trying to wham himself into the river's mountain, but this time, Miss M and Miss Wednesday actually are about to take out Corcus, yes, so that he can take them down like in canon. But Luffy's not there to crash into them this time, but he does realize that there's danger, so he kind of gets Corcus out of the way before that can happen. And Corcus then tells them about Laboon's pirate crew, and Luffy immediately feels bad for him, as Mr. M and Miss Wednesday try to declare vengeance on Luffy and the pirates. He then goes on to Laboon's sad story, and then Luffy, of course, still has his battle with Laboon, promising to meet them again. He feels like he could probably beat Laboon, but that's not the point. He just has a fun sparring with him, and he's the Jolly Roger on him. His art skills haven't improved, by the way, so it still looks like a child did it, but it's the thought that counts. He said, "This is my time to battle with you. They still get..." And unlike in the original, though Luffy doesn't get the log pose, but Corcus gave them a log pose out of gratitude instead, so that's not really important. Then Miss Wednesday swam back to Cape 9, the Twin Cape. They went to the Straw Hats, and after the Unluckies went to there and saved them and took them to Whiskey Cape. The Unlucky, Mr. 9 and Miss Wednesday then went to the Straw Hats for help. They bid Corcus farewell, and they left. But then Corcus, wondering if Luffy was one and Roger had been he and Roger had been waiting for, and right at the Revenge Mountain arc, we are 52 minutes and 10 seconds, and I think that's a good point to end this What If on. So this has been part 6 of Superhuman ASL. Tune in next time for when we go into the events of Whiskey Peak and how Zoro absolutely wrecks a bunch of bounty hunters, and then we'll get into the events of the Alabasta arc and see how Ace has changed in this timeline. And until then, stay faithful, my ballers, and thank you for tuning in. Let me know how much you love this series, and I will keep doing it regardless of how many likes.